You are now listening to WSN Wolf Sports Network.
Live from Carrollton, Georgia, this is Sports Pack.
Home of the hottest takes.
I'm going to disagree with you right there because the Dallas Cowboys are actually going to have less wins this year than the team that I'm about to talk about. And the team that I'm about to talk about are the Atlanta Falcons.
The hottest debates.
He's the all-time leading scorer, a four-time MVP. LeBron James is the greatest basketball player ever, not MJ.
Yeah, greatest losing in the finals, maybe.
And some of the top interviews in sports radio.
Super Bowl champion, Brad Johnson.
This is Joe Urso, five-time national champion head baseball coach for the University of Tampa.
This is five-time Olympic medalist Alana Myers-Taylor.
This is President Brendan Kelly. You're listening to Sports Pack.
You know what time it is. Wolves Country.
Let's ride.
It is an especially beautiful Thursday night here in the City of Dreams, Carrollton, Georgia. It is Wolfstock 2024 night here. Gonna kick it off in the Campus Center Ballroom at 6 o'clock. So Sports Pack is on at a brand new time, a one-time only time, 5 o'clock in the evening. It kind of feels like sports out of pocket, but guess what?
Yeah, it's weird.
We are vibing with it. This is your sports director, Brendan Willoughby Ray, kicking things off, joined by Gianna, Richard, Gavin, Aaron, Witt, going to join the show later. Super excited for his debut.
Sir.
Remember, you can reload and continue grabbing your favorites from Starbucks or Chick-fil-A. Call the Wolves card office at 678-839-6525 or stop by their office in the UCC. Now, this is an episode I have been so hyped about. Not only talking men's Final Four, but the women's Final Four as well. Have an incredible slate of games. Getting into the NBA, we have some huge NFL news that dropped yesterday. Got to get into that.
Crazy news.
But first things first, we had an incredible friend of the show stop by the other day for an interview, Mr. Zoddy Jackson. I mean, his awards list is a laundry list. He is remarkable, one of the greatest athletes who has ever stepped foot on campus. It was a great interview. Check it out.
West Georgia dials up a 29-yard score on 4th and 6.
D1, baby. Go Wolves.
We are once again here on Sports Pack, joined by, I think we can say now, our best friend to the show. The laundry list of accolades this man has accumulated over the past month is incredible. The Atlanta Tip-Off Club's Georgia Player of the Year, the GSC Player of the Year, the GSC Tournament Most Outstanding Player, the South Region Player of the Year, Mr. Zoddy Jackson, Wolves point guard, Wolves legend. How's it going, man?
Great. How's it going? I'm happy to be here once again.
Yes, sir. It's going great. And first of all, man, congratulations on this incredible run. I mean, we had an incredible season, obviously, winning the GSC tournament, winning the GSC championship, going 27-6. But for you individually, taking home all of those awards, being the engine that drove our team, it's really incredible, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
This season, incredible. Like I said, we went 27-6, won the GSC tournament. We were all there for it. One of the best experiences as a student I've had here. You know, I'm a graduating senior, and I've told everyone, all the sporting events I've been to, baseball, football, basketball, that was by far the best game. Just the fans being there, see you guys win the tournament, cut down the nets, it was magical. How did it feel to accomplish that career-long goal of winning the GSC tournament?
I feel like that's the first thing I wanted to do the first day I stepped on campus. I mean, since August of my first year here, that was the goal, to win a GSC championship, and it's really fulfilling and really convenient that we did it against Huntsville, since those were like our biggest rivals, and it seemed like we couldn't get over that hump, and we finally did it. So I feel like everything just came together that game, and we finally made it happen, not only for us, but for our coaches, for our fans, you know, and especially for us since we worked so hard. So I feel like it was a great thing to do it, especially against Huntsville.
Looking at this year's team, I mean, you and Cam were like a dynamic duo, but Cole also, I mean, really stepped up his game. Three-point percentage went up. He was scoring like never before, but, you know, it's looking like Cam and Cole are moving on, both seniors. How would you reflect on both of their performances this year and them being leaders on the team and them really stepping up and being key pieces in your championship?
I personally think they were main contributors in our championship run. Those are my two wings, my shooting guard and my small forward in the starting lineup. So, you know, we have to have a great connection And both those are guys that I played with last year, so it's not like I had to learn anything. We came in with that chemistry from last year, and I think it really helped them play. Last year, we were all new to each other. Cole already being here, me transferring in, Cam transferring in, so our chemistry had to get on the same page. But I feel like once our chemistry was locked in like it was this year, special things happened. Cole played great all year. Steady play, consistent play, big shots when we need them all season long. Great defense, the occasional blow-by layup or two. I mean, I feel like he had a great season. I feel like
he did.
If any way you want to go out, that's the way to go out. And Cam Denali, I feel like we're the best duo in the country. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for how he played all year. A guy who had a major injury last year, battled through it, played through it, and now y'all finally got to see him at 100%. I feel like he really, he took over some games for us. We had a couple 30 balls. I just feel like he's unguardable, when he's getting downhill with his right hand, left hand. We call him 40-inch vert, so I feel like he's really unstoppable.
Yeah, building off what Brendan said, it was an incredible season this year. But like you said, Cole Fisher and Cam Denotland, two big-time producers for this team, are 9 times out of 10 aren't going to be here next season. So what players do you see on this roster or that may be coming in through maybe the portal or maybe seniors in high school right now coming in to be freshmen next year? What kind of players do you see coming in and really stepping up for next season to be big-time contributors?
I'm not going to talk for any guys in the portal because I have no word of who we're going to get. Who knows?
Right.
It's a lot of time until that decision has to come up. As far as high school guys, I know for sure our guy Zay in high school, he won a state championship this year as well. But on our team right now, I would say Marlon Smith. He's going to be a major contributor next year. I feel like he was a great addition to our team this year, and he's going to be an even bigger factor next year with the way he played this year. He's going to take it to even another level, just like the rest of the team did. And I would say Tamari Relaford. He was our backup 5-man this year. He's going to be segmented to a major role next year. We're going to need a lot from him as far as rebounds, interior play, block shots, things of that nature.
Right.
And lastly, I would say Michael Griffin and Malcolm Noel. I feel like everybody on our team has to step up. No matter how many minutes you played last year or what your role was, everybody's role has to increase.
So one of the things I wanted to ask was, looking at this athletic department as a whole, transitioning to Division I. I mean, obviously, for many years, West Georgia was seen as a football school. And, the results behind that for a while backed it up. But these last couple years, our basketball team's been on fire. And you guys have been, leading the charge. So as we transition to Division I, do you see this success continuing to mount? Do you see us going into the ASUN and being this competitive from the jump and making noise?
Honestly, I do. I feel like the ASUN is going to be a jump forward. Because you're going to have a learning curve and, struggles and things of that nature. But I feel like we can continue to have success just like we did in GSC. Of course, I'm not saying we're going to come in there and win the league our first year there, but I feel like just how we continue to put our success in the GSC year after year, getting better, improving on our rankings, and, eventually climbing to that number 1 spot, I feel like we can do the same thing in the ASUN. As far as, 4th, 5th, move up to 2nd, 3rd, and eventually win the conference, whether that be the regular season or the tournament championship. So everything's a work in progress. I feel like once we work at it, just like we worked at the GSC, we'll be at the top of the ASUN, just like we're at the top of the GSC, and eventually top in the country.
So how does kind of like the fan experience, how did that contribute in the GSC championship, and how did that also kind of affect y'all going into the D2 tournament?
I feel like our fans were really the reason we were undefeated at home, if I'm being honest. Like, I feel like everybody wants to play good in front of their friends, right? But if their friends don't show up to the game, who am I trying to impress, I feel like this year we had our most steady attendance between the 2 years that I was here. So I want to give credit to our fans. I want to say thank you, and we really appreciate you. You guys definitely inspired us some games where we were slacking or we weren't on our game. And I would say that led us to have great momentum going into the GSC championship. Knowing that we're undefeated at home, knowing that we beat each and every team at home, gave us the courage and the strength to know that we can beat any team at a neutral court as well. So I really think that gave us a lot of momentum going into the GSC tournament because no one's home in the GSC tournament. So.
No, that's awesome, man. And again, we want to say congratulations. Like I said, laundry list of awards for Zoddy Jackson. The Atlanta Tip-Off Club's Georgia Player of the Year, the GSC Player of the Year, the GSC Tournament Most Outstanding Player, the South Region Player of the Year, and honestly the West Georgia player of the life, because I know in all of our academic careers here, we've seen some great football players, seen some other great basketball players, some great gymnasts, but man, your impact on the campus, on the fan base, on the community has been huge. So whatever happens in the future, we just want to say thank you so much for representing the university so well, for coming on the show as much as you have, and just being Zoddy Jackson. We appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate you guys for having me. I'm very excited every time you ask me to do one of these interviews. So I just want to say thank you and for your support throughout the last 2 years.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Hey, yes, sir. And guess what? This is not the last time you'll hear Zoddy Jackson on Sports Pack this semester, so stay tuned.
Woolstock
2024.
Woolstock
Campus Center Ballroom.
Woolstock
West Georgia, baby.
Woolstock 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 Woolstock.
Thursday, April 4th, 2024. Come experience the concert event of the year. Wolfstock, brought to you by Dine West, Housing and Residence Life, Center for Student Involvement and Inclusion, American Pie Pizzeria, Osier Apparel, and Illuminated Productions. Man, I just told you, but in case you already forgot, Wolfstock is happening tonight, 6 o'clock, at the Campus Center Ballroom. There's a few stages outside. It's going to have incredible performances by Dark Souls Thug, Jay Pruitt, Kamal Saucier, Collar, Lumina, and XO. There's food, there's games, but you're going to be coming for that incredible music. 6 o'clock, Campus Center Ballroom. Be there or be square.
And the Alabama Crimson Tide will roll into the Final Four. Back to the Final Four to defend their title. And the next stop on the Purdue Redemption Tour is the Final Four. An unlikely run to the Final Four for NC State. Echoes of 1983.
Hey, well,
switching it up.
Hey, it's happening a little bit quicker than we anticipated, but a warm welcome to our man Aaron, taking the stage here on Sports Pack, talking about the Final Four.
Boy, making his debut.
Now, we got some incredible games this weekend, y'all. We're starting with the men's slate. First game, 6 o'clock on TBS this Saturday. The Purdue Boilermakers, led by National Player of the Year, about to be two-time National Player of the Year, Zach Edey, going up against the Cinderellas. NC State, the 11th seed, led by, I think we can call him Mr. America by now.
Mr. America.
Mr. DJ Burns. Right now he's a basketball star. Could turn out to be an NFL star down the line. A lot of people are looking at him as potential offensive tackle. Would be incredible. But Richard, you know why we're here. We got to pick this game.
Right.
Purdue's a 9.5-point favorite. They're the 1 seed. They're Goliath. NC State's David. Do you give DJ Burns and the Wolfpack any chance of pulling off this upset, and will they do it?
I mean, there's always a chance. Look, what do they say? Any given Sunday, even though this game's being played on a Saturday, NC State has had a magical run through this tournament, starting in the ACC tournament, really, when they lost their last 4 games of the season, went to the ACC tournament. A lot of people thought playing NC State was going to be a bye week. They won 5 straight games, winning the ACC tournament. Now they've gone on this outstanding run to the Final Four in the NCAA tournament. But sadly, I think this is where that run ends. Now, the NC State men's team, one of 2 teams, them and UConn, whose men's and women's basketball teams are both in the Final Four this year. It's pretty crazy. But I think their run ends here. I mean, they're running them to an immovable force, man. Zach Edey down low's a handful for anybody, even DJ Burns. Now, DJ Burns is 6'9". He's a load down there, but he's going to be able to put some pressure on Zach Edey, but I don't know if anybody except for Klingon from UConn is going to be able to put enough pressure on Zach Edey to really get him to crack. I think they're going to need help down low. They're going to be bringing in some guards like double team Zach Edey. And what does that do? That's when Zach Edey shows everybody how great of a passer he is as well. And he kicks the ball out to guys like Braden Smith, guys like Lance Jones, and they just drain threes all night on top of Zach Edey dropping 30. I think NC State will make it a battle throughout the first half, but I feel like around halfway through the second half, we're going to see Purdue really cut it on, pull away, and punch their tickets to the national championship.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be an interesting and competitive game. I mean, we've seen how NC State has been competing this entire tournament. Also, like you said, in the ACC tournament, people were doubting them, and they proved everyone wrong time and time again. I think if the only chance they really have of beating Purdue, which is kind of slim because even though they have been great, Purdue and Zach Edey just have been unstoppable. They've, like you said, the unstoppable force. But I think the only chance they have of maybe beating Purdue is if they can really lock them down at the three-point line. Now, in all 4 of Purdue losses this season, they've made 34% of their three-pointers, which is well below their season average. And we've seen in this tournament that NC State can defend the three-point line very well. We saw it against Duke. We saw it against Marquette. They shut them down on that three-point line. I think if NC State can do that, they might have an actual chance of beating Purdue, but, I mean, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to really lock in at the three-point line when you have a guy that's 7'4" and can finish great around the rim like Zach Edey.
NC State has – let me just preface this with NC State can play very different ways. They can beat you on three-point line with defense. They're good around the rim as well. They can play at a fast pace, slow pace. They can control the game. They are very versatile in the way they play. But it's going to be hard against this Purdue team because they figured out how to beat all these teams in their strategies. When teams are double-teaming Zach Edey, like you said, he'll pass it out and get his other team's looks. So it's going to be hard. It's going to take everything that NC State has, and even that might not be enough.
DJ Burns legacy game.
Literally, it has to be.
Yeah, like you guys said, NC State, they've proved themselves to be a resilient team. I know they've surpassed every expectation I had placed on them during the preseason, and they've really went on a run, and they've really proved themselves against the best and the best in terms of this country. And I just don't see the avenue to win against Purdue. I just think the offensive creativity and firepower that they have from the perimeter and the inside, and they can score at all levels when they want to, and then when they turn it on, they turn it on. And I just believe they're a freight train going downhill right now, and I think they have a date with destiny in the national championship. And I don't know. I think the path to victory is very clear to me. DJ Burns, he's been playing great ball, and the whole squad is gelling. They're hot at the right time, but I don't know. It's just that offensive firepower Purdue brings. I just can't see the avenue to victory for NC State.
If NC State has any prayer of winning this game, Ben Middlebrooks has to step up. He had 21 points in the opening round game against Texas Tech. DJ Burns in that front court is not enough to hold Zach Edey. There's a lot of people out there saying DJ Burns is going to give Zach Edey the business. Guess what? Purdue's heard it all tournament long. They're on their little 2019 Virginia type run where the season before they lost to the 16 seed. Everyone clowned them, but guess what? Edey's back with a vengeance. Braden Smith looks like one of the best guards in the country. This team is deep. This team can shoot. In NC State, what do they do poorly? Defend the three-point arc. That was great against Duke because Duke was bricking more threes. It looked like they were Bob the Builder out there trying to build a brick house. No offense, Gianna, but guess what? If you defend the three-point arc like that against this Purdue team, they're going to make you pay all the way to the bank. This is the best three-point shooting team in the country percentage-wise. I think I'd take my Alabama Crimson Tide as an overall three-point shooting team. But right now, percentage-wise, this team in Purdue, best in the country. I think this is going to get ugly. I think Purdue wins by 20+. They've been battle-tested. They've went through Gonzaga. They've went through Tennessee. And guess what? They are going to steamroll the NC State Wolfpack. Shout out Miles. I'm not a betting man. But if I was, I'd be putting all my money on that -9.5 for the Purdue Boilermakers. I think they are going to roll, win by double digits, and like my man Aaron said, get to the national championship with a shot at the ultimate redemption. Now, the other game, the late game, coming on at 8:49 p.m. on TBS.
I feel like there should be some music playing
this Saturday night. The reigning national champion UConn Huskies sitting at 28-3. They're hungry. They want to make history. They want to be the next 06-07 Florida, a team that retained their core, got to back-to-back championships, and won back-to-back championships. They're the number one team for a reason. They're an 11.5-point favorite for a reason. They're a freight train. But the team that stands in their path is a team nobody believed in, a team everyone counted out. A team everyone said they can't play defense. They're going to go cold. Everything is going to come crashing down. But two men said no. Mark Sears said no, and Ballin' Oates himself, Nate Oates, said no. This Alabama team is on a grind, and they're not going to stop grinding until they shine. And guess what? This Alabama team is shining all the way to Phoenix. They're in the Final Four, and they will not go out quietly. Richard, does this Alabama team pull off the upset of a century, Or do the UConn Huskies roll back to the Final Four? Or to the national championship, rather.
This Alabama team is great. Ever since that regular season game they had against Tennessee, they've been proving everybody wrong. Now, they don't play elite defense, but they play enough defense. And to match up with the scoring capabilities that they have, they can play with almost anybody in the country. You have Mark Sears, you have Grant Nelson, you have guys up and down that roster outside of Marcus Sears with great size up and down the roster as well. They go around 9 or 10 deep. A lot of their great players don't even see the floor a lot of their games, but any of them can get hot and drop 20 at any given moment. They can cut on the last 3 minutes, get hot, score 10 points quick. All of a sudden, your lead is gone. I think this is going to be UConn's biggest test so far just because of how efficient Alabama's offense is. They move the ball well and anybody can score. It's not like with a lot of these college teams where they have efficient offenses, they move the ball very well, but they really only have 3 predominant scorers. Alabama can kill you from any of their guys in their starting 5 and also, like I said, going 9 deep down the bench. Now, I think UConn is going to figure out a way to get this game done with their mix of offense and defense with guys like Tristan Newton and, of course, Donovan Clingan down low. They can also cut it on, and anybody from their team can also drop 20 on you at any given moment. Their mix of offense and defense, I feel like, will prove to give them a slight lead against Alabama, and I think they'll be able to ride that lead throughout the second half. But I do think this is going to be UConn's biggest test yet, and I wouldn't be surprised if UConn won this in a one-possession ball game.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. They're kind of similar to NC State in the way they can play in very different ways. They've played a bunch of different teams and beat them in different ways. And this Alabama fast-paced 3-point shooting team is going to present a challenge for them. But no, I'm sorry, Brendan. UConn's going to get it done. One of Alabama's strengths is that they will keep shooting no matter what, and that's great. Whether it's going in or not, they know eventually something's going to go and it's going to get the team going. However, that is also their weakness. They'll keep shooting even when stuff isn't going in. I mean, in that Clemson game, they were 1 for 13 at one point, or that was their 3-point stat for the game. Like, they'll keep shooting and they'll keep throwing up breaks. They'll keep, throwing up stuff that's not going in, and that can be a downfall for them, especially against this UConn defense. They're a top 5 defense in the nation, and they can get things done. They can shut people down. I mean, Illinois had one of the nation's best offense besides the Huskies, and the UConn held them to their worst offensive performance in years. So
they had one of the greatest runs in the history of basketball, 30-0 to start the second half. That was incredible.
Exactly. That's their offense. Like, people don't talk about their defense as much, but their defense helps out a bunch too. So I'm sorry, Brendan. They're just so well-rounded on both sides of the floor that Alabama's not going to stand a chance.
Yeah, I agree 100%. UConn is just too well-rounded. I think, again, just like I stated with Purdue, I think they got a date with destiny in the national championship. I believe they're too well-rounded. They've got guys like Travis Newton, Donovan Clingan, Cam Spencer. Like, they're a deep team and they're a deep squad, and they're moving downhill right now. This is a very talented Alabama squad, I will say. They will shoot the lights out and they can get offensive on you, but I just believe the well-roundedness of UConn and their ability to play through much situations and adversity, I think that's going to come through in the end, and they'll prevail.
This game's going to come down to tempo. Now, people may look at the tempo stats and they'll say, well, UConn doesn't rank in the top 300 with adjusted tempo. They're 314th in the country. That gives Alabama a lot of hope. Problem is, the reason UConn is so low in tempo is their ball movement. They set up, they make a million passes. They remind me a lot of the 2014 Spurs that beat my Miami Heat in the NBA Finals. Incredible ball movement. One player doesn't necessarily shine. They got 4 or 5 guys that can drop 20 on you any given night. It's a team effort. It's beautiful basketball. UConn's won 11 straight. UConn won the national championship last year. They're the best team in the country by far, and they should win this game. But when Alabama has hit 11 or more three-pointers this season, they are 19-2. If there is one team in this entire tournament that has a prayer of knocking down UConn, it's a team that can knock down threes like this Alabama Crimson Tide team. And you know what? Do I think it's going to happen? Does my brain say it's going to happen? No. But my heart is rolling. My heart is singing. And guess what? Sometimes you got to shut your brain off. And you got to listen to your heart. You got to listen to your soul. I'm rolling with the Tide. Give me Alabama in a monumental upset, hitting 14 three-pointers. Mark Sears dropping a 30 ball. It's going to come down to the last shot, but Alabama is going to get it done. Another virtuoso defensive performance from Grant Nelson. Aaron Estrada coming up big. Mark Sears, best player in the tournament, going to prove it on Saturday night. Give me the Alabama Crimson Tide in a monumental upset. I'll probably be wrong, but roll Tide anyway.
Hey, this is five-time Olympic medalist Alana Myers-Taylor, and you're listening to Sports Pack, only on the Wolf Sports Network.
Any hot new dances.
Hey, you're in luck. Put your right hand out, put your left hand out. You clench both fists and let out a howl. Now listen, boys and girls, let those knees rock. This is how you do the wolf stock. Wolf stock, wolf stock. Wolf Stock is coming Thursday, April 4, 2024 from 6 to 9 p.m. in the Campus Center Ballroom, brought to you by Dine West, Housing and Residence Life, Center for Student Involvement and Inclusion, American Pie Pizzeria, Ozier Apparel, and Illuminated Productions. College students who binge drank alcohol at least 3 times per week were roughly 6 times more likely to perform poorly on a test or project as a result of drinking. That's why Printers has joined Wolf Radio and Wolf Sports Network's Drink Responsibly campaign to remind students drinking should be done responsibly and in an environment that discourages overindulging. Faculty won't take your hangovers as excuses.
An historic season with a tournament to back it up. The competition is stronger than ever, and all eyes are on them. Who's going to come out on top?
Let's go. You know, looking at this women's Final Four, we got some repeated schools. We got UConn, we got NC State, we got Miss Caitlin Clark, and we have the big dog on campus. We got those South Carolina Gamecocks, one of the most dominant teams in women's college basketball history. Now, the game we got to kick off. NC State, a 3 seed, 27-5, great regular season, going against this monster of a South Carolina Gamecocks team led by Dawn Staley. They already got a natty. They're looking for their second in 3 seasons, an 11.5 point favorite, #1 overall seed, best team in the country. Richard, do we think this South Carolina team continues their role?
I mean, I feel like the vast majority of people do, but I'm going to talk about this NC State team for a minute. This is an NC State team that has once again made history, just like their men's team. This is the first time the NC State women's basketball team has made it to the Final Four since 1998, where they were led by their Hall of Fame head coach, Cade Yo, and they lost to Louisiana Tech 84-65. This is the NC State team whose run has also been improbable. Last round, they knocked off the 1 seed, the Texas Longhorns, led by Isaiah James, who averages 16.7 points a game, and Sanaya Rivers, a South Carolina transfer that averages 12 points a game. This NC State team can score with anybody that average around 74 points a game, and they hit 74% of their free throws. I think, listen, I think this is going to be a ball game. I don't think a lot of people are ready for this game, but I feel like NC State is going to give South Carolina all they can handle in this game. I think they're going to get to the free throw line. I think they're going to score. And you know what? Like Brendan said earlier, I'm picking this game with my heart. Blood is thicker than water. One of my closest cousins played on that 1998 Final Four NC State team, Dee Hutcherson. Shout out Dee. I think this NC State team is going to go in there and pull off the upset of the century and beat this 36-0 South Carolina Gamecocks team, send them home, and unlike their men's team, punch their ticket to the national championship. The NC State women's basketball team will avenge their 1998 predecessors this coming Friday. Punch it, book it, let's do it.
Wow. Well, I love the passion. I really do. And I wish I could agree with you. This NC State team, the men's and women's teams at NC State are very similar in the fact that I feel like people want them to win just because they're making history. These teams are very passionate. Their schools are very passionate about their teams. It's just they're up against these powerhouses in the men and the women's, Purdue for the men, South Carolina for the women, that it's so hard to really see them pulling the upset. I mean, it'd be great. It'd be amazing. And I feel like the only way that NC State could do it against South Carolina is that South Carolina, they've had some problems with closing out games. In their Sweet 16 game against Indiana, I think it was the Sweet 16, they had a 22-point lead at one point. And Indiana was able to close that, get that down to 2, and they almost got the upset. So I feel like if NC State is, obviously they really want to win, if they can capture that essence, that whatever Indiana had going on, and catch South Carolina slipping, they might have a chance. They really will. But on the other hand, South Carolina is so dominant. Their whole team, there's not just one star like the Caitlins or the Paige Beckers or the Jujus of the world. The entire team is very well rounded. They're a collective, and that's why they've been so dominant. I mean, they've had 4 different leading scorers in this tournament, so it's shown that they can share the wealth. It's not always just on one person. And I think that's really what's going to help them, go further in this tournament. I do want to shout out Isaiah James for NC State. Her shooting was the main reason for that upset over the Longhorns. She was 7 for 9 from the 3-point line, and she had 24.3. She's had 24.3 points per game in this tournament. She's been unstoppable,
and she's gonna do it again.
she's gonna do it again. Unstoppable. I mean, dang, Richard, you're kind of giving me.
Let's go.
Because they have the same vibes as LSU last year. They were the underdog in every game they played in the tournament, and they pulled off the upset. It's just
the only thing that scares me is Camila Cardoso down low.
Yes.
Not Alabama. South Carolina dominates the boards on defense and offense.
Yeah,
Richard,
it's gonna be a really good game.
Not to cut you off, Gianna, but I have a proposition. You're talking about this NC State team. You got us all fired up.
You do.
This is like being at a really good sales pitch, right?
Okay.
You're getting us there, but you gotta close the deal. So stand up. You got 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Sell us the dream.
He just did.
No, truly sell us the dream, because you got to convince Gianna, you got to convince me, and you got to convince Aaron. Convince us that NC State can beat this juggernaut, that NC State can beat this behemoth, that they can beat Galactus, that they can beat Thanos, that they can beat the best team we've ever seen at the women's collegiate level. Convince us, because I'm close to picking it. I'm believing. I'm looking at the stats. I can see a path. I see a path to victory. But you got to close the deal. Convince us NC State can get the job done.
It's David versus Goliath, baby. Like I was saying, it's time for them to make history. The last time they made it, 1998, they got knocked out. They got beat by 20 to Louisiana Tech. So I look at this team led by Isaiah James, a girl who has been on fire. She already averaged 16 points per game throughout the regular season. And as Gianna said, she took her game to the next level in this tournament, averaging over 23 points per game. She went crazy against Texas last game, in a game where they got down early, and a lot of people thought this game might have been over. They got hot, punched back into it. She hit 7 3-pointers. Then need to challenge that, and the rest of the team needs to rise to the occasion around her. Along with Sanaya Rivers, I'm looking for a revenge game against her. Her freshman year, she played at South Carolina where she averaged around 2 points per game. Well, now she's starting for NC State where she averages 12.7 points per game. It's time for all of them to cut it on. I think it starts at the top with Isaiah, and the rest of the team will pick up the pace around her. Now, this won't be easy whatsoever. If they do win this game, it's going to be one possession, maybe even last shot, because Camila Cardoso and these South Carolina Gamecocks dominate the offensive and defensive boards. They're very efficient offensively and defensively. A lot of people sleep on their defense, but they only give up 56 points per game to their opposing team. So when I say NC State's going to put it all together, they will need a complete performance from every single girl on this roster. But you know what? I'm hyped. I think they can get it done. I think they will get it done. I think it's going to be one of the greatest games we've seen in a very long time. Now, this Iowa-LSU game had the highest ratings we've ever seen in a women's college basketball game in, I think, ever. But I think this is going to be one of the best games that we will ever see in women's college basketball, and I think NC State is going to pull it out. David beats Goliath at the end of the day.
Okay, just real quick, the point you made about how the rest of the roster is going to step up around Isaiah to make this win happen, that's why I'm not picking them to win this game. It's because I don't think the rest of the team can step up to it to help Isaiah carry this team to the national championship. So, unfortunately, even though I'm hyped with you about this NC State team, I got to pick South Carolina.
I understand.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, when I look at this Wolfpack team, I believe that they're a team with an identity. I think they're rolling downhill. When you look at Isaiah James, Sanaya Rivers, like, they're both ballers, and they're hooping right now, and they're moving downhill. And I do see a path to victory. I do see an upset brewing. But when I just look at this South Carolina team on paper, and I see Dawn Saley, and I see Camila Cardoso, and I see Raven Johnson, and then the front court with Ashlyn Watkins and Sakima Walker. It's just, I don't know, they're a complete team. Like, they're really complete, and they're moving downhill, and they're getting hot at the right time, and with one of the best women's coaches in modern basketball history. It's just, I don't know. It just seems like they're just destined to go. And I know I'm saying that about all of my picks now, but it just seems like more so than any team we've spoken on so far, it seems like this South Carolina team is destined to go far and possibly win it all. So for me, I'll have to roll with them in this. I do see the path for an upset from the NC State Wolfpack. I believe they're a great team with a great identity. To Richard's point, I honestly can see a scenario where that team can play up to Isaiah James and Sanaya Rivers, and possibly, go tit for tat with South Carolina and make it a game, make it a one possession, thriller game. I do think we're in for an all-timer. I think it's going to be a thriller, and I do just see the Gamecocks pulling it out at the end of the day, but I do see a path for the Wolfpack to upset.
Wolfpacks, man, we know how they move, right? They move with purpose. They move with intent. And there is always a path for the Wolfpack. But guess what, man? Those Gamecocks, they're angry. They're not getting respect. Yes, they're the best team in the country, but everyone's talking about individual players. They're talking about Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, Angel Reese. It's a team game at the end of the day. Dawn Staley knows that. You know what she's saying in these locker rooms. Look, everyone's talking about Iowa. They're hyping them up. They're talking about UConn. They're talking about the other games. Let them keep talking. We're going to go out there and perform. Richard, I'm going to be rooting for NC State for you, man, for your family. Shout out the entire Reed family. I hope dreams come true, but guess what? Not all dreams come true for a reason. South Carolina will lay the hammer down, win by double digits, and remind the world why they are the South Carolina Gamecocks and why they are undefeated. Now, the biggest game yet, maybe ever, in the landscape of women's college basketball. Yes, the Iowa-LSU game had a lot of hype.
They broke the record for viewing. Real quick, they had 12.3 million viewers, making it the most watched women's college game and the most watched college basketball game on ESPN, period.
Okay.
So it was
viewership does not equate to how good the hoops is, okay?
All right, whatever. Go ahead.
Because that game was fine, but the game I watched after that, the USC-UConn game, was better hoops. Yeah. I liked seeing Juju and Paige out there matched up, and guess what? Paige is out there trying to send a message to this country, to this world. that maybe Caitlin Clark isn't the best player in the country. She's saying, look, my freshman year, I was the hottest thing on the block. She had the injuries. She played 17 games, missed almost 2 years of full action. She's back. That UConn team is littered with injuries. They're back in the Final Four. They got a statement to make. This is going to be the best hoops we have ever seen at the women's level. I'm hype. We got to make quick picks. Who will reign supreme? Caitlin Clark or our girl Paige Buckets?
I'm hyped too. I think this is where UConn rises back to the top of college basketball because everybody's like, oh my gosh, Iowa and South Carolina, they're destined to meet up once again like the Final Four game last year. Not so fast. I think this is where Gino, UConn, and Paige Beckers remind everybody who runs the college basketball world. I think UConn's going to go in there. They're going to beat Caitlin Clark and Iowa in what's going to be a great game behind Paige Beckers. Aaliyah Edwards is averaging 17 points a game, and Nika Mule is the person who I think is the key to this game. Now, she doesn't do much offensively, but what she brings to the table defensively is next level. I don't think anybody in the country can limit Caitlin Clark, but I think she'll get close enough, limit her just enough, get a couple possessions ahead. But I think defensively, you can't really do anything with Caitlin Clark, but she is a stable defensively no matter who she's guarding. When it comes to flat-out scoring, Aaliyah Edwards, Paige Beckers, they will have enough to keep up with Iowa and Caitlin Clark, make it a game in the fourth quarter, and snatch it up at the very end, sending Caitlin Clark packing to the WNBA draft with no ring.
You've been very passionate about these games, Richard.
I'm feeling it.
I admire that. I'm loving that.
I'm feeling it.
Now, with this game, I'd be cool with whoever wins. I've been a UConn women's fan for a long time. I even wanted to go there and play when I was playing basketball, so I really love that school. But my main concern is that UConn has been on a 6-player rotation since January.
Yeah.
And now I know, and also out of that 6-player rotation, 3 of them are freshmen. So even though they've been doing it since January, I know they're in the rhythm of it, but I feel like they might be getting a little bit tired, and I feel like foul trouble can be a really big problem for them if with a team like Iowa. And Beckers, she hasn't been off the floor in 3 games. Yeah. She is their main player. I know you mentioned Mule, I know you mentioned Aaliyah Edwards, but she is their star. She's their go-to girl for everything. She's had 3 double-doubles in 4 tournament games, and she has shot 51% from the field. That is absolutely crazy. But I just think it might be too much for just her to handle because Iowa, even though Caitlin Clark is Iowa's girl, they have proven that they're not just Caitlin Clark. Right. Kate Martin and Sydney Ofter and Sulky down the paint, I can't remember her first name, but they have all proven that it's not just Caitlin Clark's team, and Caitlin has done that too by dishing it out and getting it to them. So I think the fact that Iowa has really grown into a team dynamic, which is what Brendan was saying about South Carolina, them being a team is what's gotten them this far, is really what's also gotten Iowa this far as well. As Caitlin's getting better, she's making her surrounding players better, and that's made the overall team better. So I got to take Iowa.
I'm going to have to roll with the Huskies on this one. I think when I look at this team, I just think Paige Buckets, she's just going to be too much. I mean, Caitlin Clark and Paige Buckets, I believe they're both 2 unguardable players at this level. I don't think there's much you can do with them defensively. But when I look at both of them, what I look at is the supporting cast. And when we put those up together, I don't really believe there is much of a comparison. When we look at Aaliyah Edwards, Nika Mule, Ashlyn Shade, like, they have guys and they have people who can take the load off. They have ballers. They have people who can take the load off Paige. And I don't know, Caitlin Clark in Iowa, they're rolling downhill. They're playing great basketball right now, and they're gelling. Like, that team gels so much more than people give credit for. Like, it's not just the Caitlin Clark show like people try and make it out to be. She finds her teammates. She's always looking to pass. Like, people try and make it seem like, she's on some sort of, 2-4 on her back, just, waving everybody off, but she's using her teammates, and that's why they've gotten so far and why she is so good, like, is her basketball knowledge and the IQ, and I don't think that's really touched on enough. But when I just look at both of these teams as a whole and as a unit, I believe that the UConn Huskies are just going to be too much. I believe Iowa will make it a game, but at the end of the day, I do think the Huskies are going to get it done.
Caitlin Clark has all the fame. But after tomorrow night, Paige Beckers will be the name that America remembers. Now, listen, I'm not trying to diss Caitlin Clark. She's spectacular. I mean, 32 points a game, 46% from the field. She's incredible, an incredible shooter, incredible scorer.
Doing great things for the game.
But when I look at Paige Buckets, She has a talent that transcends just scoring. She's an incredible ball handler, incredible defender, incredible facilitator. She can get hers too, shooting above 50% from the field, over 40% from three, the most efficient scorer in the country. I'm looking at Caitlin Clark, and I think she's going to look like Tony Stark in Endgame.
Oh.
Once Paige Buckets get through with her.
Yo.
The Yukon Huskies will upset the Iowa Hawkeyes, go to the national championship, and they still have a lot more to prove. Gino's looking for 12, and they have a date with South Carolina. I think they're going to get it done.
State
Close
with NC
game.
State, excuse me. They're going to get South Carolina in foul trouble. They're going to get to the line. They're going to win that game.
But give me Yukon. I got them rolling.
The NBA is back. Let's go.
Shout out to the Atlanta Hawks, man. Winning last night 121-113 over the Detroit Pistons. Obviously, the Pistons stink.
But also, shout out to Flynn, 50 points off the bench.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yo,
What was
going on?
Who even is that guy? 50 points off the... Sorry, continue.
Hey, man, Malachi Flynn, incredible performance off the bench in the loss. 50 points for the Pistons. Now, the reason I'm congratulating your Hawks is you locked up a play-in seed. So you're number 10, you know, right now.
5 games behind 500.
Yeah, you're 36-40, so it's not the best. But guess what? You're going at least to the postseason in a sense. You haven't locked up a playoff spot, but you're going to be in the play-in, so that's exciting. And DeJounte Murray had yet again another great performance, dropping 26 and 7, looking like the leader of the team. Now, earlier he went on Trae Young's podcast. They chopped it up. They wanted to squash any kind of rumors of tension or beef between the two, but the dialogue is ramping up. Forbes released an article today saying, are the Hawks better without Trae Young? Should they build around DeJounte Murray? We all know there's rumors of Trae going to the Lakers. We talked about it last Sports Pack. Seems like now the rumors have even been hyped up to a new degree. Do we think Trae Young's time in Atlanta is over?
I'm not really sure what to make of it, honestly. I can really see it going either way. I do feel as though at the end of this season, one of these superstars will be moving somewhere else. They'll be packing up, buying a house in a different city somewhere. I'm just not sure who it can be. I think it could be Trae Young for all intents and purposes. I could see them trading Trae Young, trying to get a superstar back, maybe a guy like Paul George by sending Trae Young to the Clippers, doing something like that, and have a duo with Paul George and DeJounte Murray. Maybe try to draft a guy like Zach Edey in the first round. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Just need somebody big down there, no matter how good he is, really. And that could happen, or I could see the reverse happening. Ship DeJounte Murray out and still try to get another small forward like a Paul George or somebody else with those kind of with that skill set, those attributes. Because really, what the Hawks really need is a big man one. I said they can get Zach Edey in the first round easily, I would say. And then they need a small forward. They need somebody at the 3, around 6'8", 6'9", that can flat out score and move around without the ball. Because DeJounte Murray and Trae Young are both too ball dominant to share the court with one another. It's kind of like what happened with Luka and Kyrie, but they kind of got it sorted out. DeJounte and Trae have not gotten it sorted out. So they need a good 3 or a 2 that can move without the ball and just be an elite scorer and also a big man. I really want Zach Edey in Atlanta.
Yeah, I agree with you about the big man thing. I've been saying that for a while about the Hawks, but I think I'm going to still stick with what I said on Monday's show, and that we keep Trae and ship DeJounte, because we've seen that Trae can take us deep into the playoffs. We mentioned about the 2021 playoffs and all that. But someone definitely got to go. Because if we go into another season with both of them on this court, we're like just staying in the same situation no matter who we draft. It's not going to get better. So at the end of the season, no matter where we in, who we draft, one of them got to go. I'm sorry.
And the way both of them have been balling, whoever you move is going to bring a hefty dollar sign with them. They're going to be sending a load to get either Trae Young or DeJounte Murray because they're both at their best this season have been flat-out ballers.
Right, because even if we get rid of DeJounte, he's proven that he can be a key dominant player. He can be the role player on a team given the chance. I just don't know.
It's going to cost somebody a lot to get him.
It's going to cost somebody a grip to get him, but I just don't know if Atlanta is that spot for him right now.
Yeah, I agree with Gianna. I'm going to have to roll with who's been proven to lead a team deep into the playoffs before. And I think when you look at that, I think you would have to, in a situation like this where it's one or the other and they can't coexist, I think you would have to go with Trae Young in that situation. He's proven that he can take a team deep into the playoffs as a number one. We haven't seen that from DeJounte Murray. Now he is a baller and he is a hooper, but we just have not seen that. He has not proven that to us yet. Now, like you guys said, it will be he will come with a price tag, and like both players will come with a price tag. But I do just think at the end of the day, you will have to roll with who you think can lead and who can be a number one going forward and who you'd like to build around. And as a front office, I think you'd have to go with Trae Young in that situation in terms of when you have someone who can't coexist with each other, you know.
Now, real quick, if DeJounte makes some moves in this playoffs, I might change my answer. But as of right now, I'm sticking with Trae.
Yes, Trae Young has led the Hawks deep into the playoffs, but that was one season in 2021. I mean, I don't want to be mean, but it was kind of an anomaly. I mean, looking at this Hawks team as presently constructed, I don't think they can go anywhere in a stacked East with Trae Young. I think you have to look down the road how you can maximize value from either player. You're going to get more for Trae Young. I think you look at what DeJounte's doing, a cheaper option. You ship Trae off, let him go team up with a few other superstars. Like I said, maybe LeBron in LA, let them cook, build around DeJounte. Some say you can't build around DeJounte. I disagree. I think he's one of the better all-around guards in the NBA. Yes, he may never be a number one, but he can be an incredible number two until you find your number one, whether that's through free agency, a trade, or the draft. I think Trae Young, incredible player, but his time in Atlanta feels like it's gotten a little stale. I think it's best for the Hawks to move on, trade him, bring in talent to surround DeJounte Murray with what he needs to take the Hawks to the next level.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. You know what's coming up? Woolstock 2024. Thursday, April 4th, from 6 to 9 p.m. in the Campus Center Ballroom.
Wolfstock 2024 is brought to you by Dine West, Housing and Residence Life, Center for Student Involvement and Inclusion, American Pie Pizzeria, Osier Apparel, and Illuminated Productions. Man, Wolfstock is going to be incredible. Like I said, starts at 6 o'clock. Make sure you guys go out there. Campus Center Ballroom, going to be an incredible time. Did you know on-campus dining fits all your dietary needs? Head over to the grill for a burger patty and the salad bar for a delicious low-carb meal. Follow Dine West on Instagram at UWGDine_West to keep up on dining hall options and retail hours.
Take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. Take it or leave it.
The AFC is crazy, y'all. We know it's a conference of quarterbacks. But man, the Houston Texans are looking like a team with everything primed to go on a Super Bowl run, trading for Stephon Diggs. This is a team that already had a dynamic duo of Nico Collins and Tank Dell, now a three-headed monster at the wide receiver position. Remember, they got, really, in my opinion, an underrated running back in Joe Mixon earlier this offseason. C.J. Stroud put up one of the best rookie quarterback years we have ever seen. They got Danielle Hunter from the Vikings, getting an incredible duo on the edges with Will Anderson on one edge, with Danielle Hunter on the other edge. Their defense is looking right. They have an incredible young coach. This Houston Texans team looks like a Super Bowl contender. So for take it or leave it, we're going to beg the question. Do we think this Houston Texans team is a top two roster as presently constructed in the AFC, and that they are the Chiefs' biggest challengers to go back to back to back as three-peat Super Bowl champions?
Can I take it? Because I agreed the first part when you said a top two roster in the AFC, but then you said their top contender.
The top contender in the AFC to the Chiefs.
I'm going to leave it.
I think that's the expectation right now. I think with a move like that, that has to be the expectation. I think they're not Super Bowl or bust. They're too young for that to be Super Bowl or bust, but I do think it is a win-now move, and I think they're in win-now mode. C.J. Stroud was ready to win the MVP in his rookie season, I believe. Right. D'Amico Ryans was ready to win. He won Coach of the Year, I believe, wasn't it? Or was he the candidate?
He was up there. I don't remember if he won it or not.
I know he was either a finalist or he won it. I can't remember.
He's definitely a finalist. I can confirm that.
I can't remember, but D'Amico Ryans, he's one of the best head coaches in the league, like one of the greatest single-season turnarounds in league history last year. So I believe like that is the expectation for this team. I don't see what else the expectation should be for them.
Now, look, I agree with you 100%. This Texans team is great. They were great last year. All these offseason moves, Danielle Hunter paired up with Will Anderson on that defensive line. Their secondary was already solid, but you don't even need a secondary when your defensive line is that great. They're going to get into the quarterback nonstop. Adding Stephon Diggs to that already dynamite wide receiver room, then adding Joe Mixon, who I agree with you, Brendan, is a fringe top 10 running back in the NFL, extremely underrated. just like playing with him in Madden. He does not go down from the first one or two, maybe even 3 tackles. He's like a bowling ball, and he's bigger than people expect, and he can move. But when I look at this Texans team, they're great, and they're going to be right there towards the top of the AFC. Their division is theirs to lose. They're going to be right there at the top of the AFC, but I think it's going to look just like the Western Conference in the NBA this year. You've got teams like the Suns who spanked the 3-seeded Cavaliers last night, and they're an 8 seed in the West with the exact same record as the 3 seed in the East. You've got the Ravens. You've got the Bengals, who I think a lot of people have forgot about. Joe Burrow's on a revenge tour this year. You've got the Browns, who had the best defense in football last year. They didn't even have a quarterback.
So
when Deshaun Watson comes back, there's no telling how good they could be. They've stacked up their receiver room as well. You still got the Chiefs. Who else? You got the Colts, a healthy Anthony Richardson.
And don't forget about the Steelers.
You got the Steelers, who have stacked up this offseason. You still got the Jaguars creeping around out there. You got the Titans, who have stacked up a lot. And then the draft still hasn't even came yet. So these AFC teams are going to load their rosters even more. The AFC is going to be rough. It's going to be a gauntlet. They've got something to how could I forget? You've got that man, Aaron Rodgers, leading a healthy New York Jets team, who I think is my dark horse to win the Super Bowl this year if everybody can stay healthy. Dude, the AFC is going to be insane this year. So I'm not just going to flat out give it to the Texans, but I expect to see them in the thick of it. I expect to see them in the thick of it and playing deep into January.
I'm going to take it. 100%, these Houston Texans are going to be the top two team in the AFC. They're going to be a top 5 team in the entire NFL. And if anyone's going to stop the Chiefs from going back to back to back, repeat, triple on top, triple trilogy win, it's going to be the Houston Texans. Look, I look at last year. They struggled in the run game a little bit. Dameon Pierce, Devin Singletary, it just wasn't anything to really, wrap your head around that often. Yes, good power back guys, but getting Joe Mixon was perfect for C.J. Stroud. And I say that because Joe Mixon is a great catching running back. That's exactly what C.J. Stroud needed. He can now have yet another option to dump the ball off to if he needs to, if they decide to do any play action plays or anything like that. Getting Stephon Diggs, I'm kind of mixed on it. I think he's an incredible talent. I think that the fact that they only got him for a 2nd-round pick is absurd. I mean, the Bills got fleeced terribly in that trade. But one issue with Stephon Diggs is he talks a lot. And I say that in the sense of he puts on a facade in the sense of, yeah, I'm all for the team, I'm all for this, but when things start going bad, he tends to turn everybody, make everyone else's problem except for his own. He dropped a lot of clutch catches, potential catches that could have led the Bills to a deep playoff run last year. He missed out halfway through the season, a lot of missed plays. But I think that if they get the Stephon Diggs that was in Minnesota, if they get the Stephon Diggs when he first got to Buffalo, this team is unstoppable.
I don't think they're going to get that Stephon Diggs, but what I think works out beautifully for them is Stephon Diggs has become that short to intermediate route guy, and that's exactly what they need. Tank Dell, lethal deep. Nico Collins, lethal deep. Stephon Diggs is going to be the receiver you go to 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. Pressure's on Stroud. They're sending blitz. He finds his man. He gets it done. I'm taking it. I hate to say it. I wish I could say my Steelers would be the 2nd best team in the AFC, but the AFC North is a gauntlet. Either one of those 4 teams could win that division. Looking at the AFC South, the Colts are promising. Not a big believer in the Titans, not a big believer in the Jags, but this Texans team might be a number 1 seed in their conference.
It might be.
C.J. Stroud might be 2nd or 3rd best odds to win MVP, in my opinion. Looking at his talent, looking at what he did last year, healthy, got incredible weapons, got a good offensive line. DeMeco Ryans, one of the best coaches in the NFL. I could see them potentially not only getting to the Super Bowl, but winning a Super Bowl. Because the best time to win a Super Bowl is when your quarterback's young on that rookie deal. You build up the super team around him. That's what they're trying to do. And remember how Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl in his 2nd season?
Yeah.
I could see the same thing happening for C.J. Stroud.
Jets, Jets.
Now,
don't forget now.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have left for Sports Pack. But guess what's about to start? Wolfstock 2024. I hope you heard Mr. John Halley from Triple Threat. He's howling out there for Wolfstock, and we are too. Please come out. Campus Center, 6 o'clock. Incredible music, incredible games, incredible food, incredible people. Wolf Radio, Wolf Sports Network. Whole gang's out there. Gonna be incredible. We gotta go, but guess what? We'll be back Monday, same time as usual, 6 o'clock for Richard, Gavin, Gianna, Aaron. This is Brendan. See you at Wolfstock.
You are now listening to WSN, the Wolf Sports